Hello, hello, welcome back. We are now handling episode 10 of the Lorethrough. The only reason I'm remembering the episodes is because I'm taking the time to mark the raw footage as soon as I get it. So, last time we spoke to Kenneth Haight and learned maybe a little bit more about the political situation of the Lands Between, as well as maybe a bit about the Tarnished. Not much, but some. And we heard some mysterious howling in the Mistwood. We see a figure up there on the tower. We come up here. We see another of those giant, miserable rune bears. I do not like the rune bears. No, sir, in fact. I'm going to try to prep for the fight. I really wish I had the opportunity to... Am I there? I don't dare. Not those. Can make fetid pots though. I can only make one because of our pots are being used up currently. Is fine by me. We find a level 2 smithing stone in here. I wish we had the opportunity to turn or put the cracked tier into our wondrous physic, but as I forgot to mention, when Patches sent us to the Mistwood, he made it so we couldn't warp away. Until we find another site of grace. So we're gonna try to get a group of friends together, so to speak, to take on this miserable wolf. Sorry, we're gonna bring wolves to take on this miserable bear. Oh, good damage. Can't be a good set. That didn't cause any trouble. So much help. So much. Doable. But not one of my favorite enemies. In fact, when the fact that their whole body becomes a hitbox for smacking the player character, it's not very fun. So it looks like our fellow up there in the tower is still howling away. There's not much we can do about it right now. But we will revisit him once we know more. When we see a cellar, the game's slowly teaching us through ruins that look like this, that there's often cellars, and we ought to look for them for the sake of goodies. We saw another set of ruins over at the Gatefront ruins and the Waypoint ruins. So ruins, heck, even the Dragon Burnt ruins had 2 cellars. We find ourselves the Axe Talisman. In my opinion, the first of quite useful talisman. Or one of the first, I should say. The Roar Talisman can be good if you're using a Roar. I don't believe we have one on any of our weapons currently. I should get one, though, because Roars can be quite useful. But we have places to be, and hopefully a site of grace to sit down upon to remedy our inability to warp. Goodness me, I wonder how much more practice in these videos I'm gonna need before I stop stuttering the slightest. I hope you forgive me.
Dear customer. Yes, right this way.
Oh,
this way.
I know he wants us to go right this way, but I should have pointed out that he put this sign on the edge of the road. It's even got him in it, and he says open for business, so it's to get you looking around for him. I used my meta precognition abilities to accidentally interpolate where he was. That makes
Welcome,
sense.
valued customer. Come, trade in our wandering emporium.
Our wandering
Please,
emporium. Kind of interesting that he's
I'm
speaking
hungry.
in a royal sense almost.
I've been
just for that one
hungry
line.
so long. Please.
So we will trade from him in just a moment, but I wanted to take a look at the feathers in his cap. It looks like they are, is that a maroon color, I presume? Maybe a purpley, who knows. But,
how nice.
the point to point that out is that it Oh, he doesn't have any notes. I thought he'd have a tip for us. And he sells a handful of things. These trail lilies really good. I don't think they're worth 1,000 each, but they're very useful, very helpful. I recommend getting and saving as many as you can, because you can make sleep pots with them, even if you don't have a build that uses arcane to make the sleep more potent. There's some encounters in the game that can be trivialized thanks to the sleep status. But we will grab these smithing stones. We will grab, yeah, that's another reference to General Radon in the Armorer's Cookbook. A record of crafting techniques left by an armor who served the great General Radon exalted flesh, and a beastler pot. So we'll grab those because we always want cookbooks. He sells the shield that would otherwise start with the warrior, I believe, the one in the blue robes. Sells some St. Trina's arrows. Yeah, purple water lily that is on the verge of wilting. Material used in crafting items. A symbol of faith in St. Trina. Dulls the senses, preventing agitation. A arrow carved to resemble a withered water lily, the same one that we just read about. Afflicts targets with a powerful sleep effect. Priests of St. Trina use these arrows to spread their teachings. The sweet oblivion of sleep can become quite the habit. It makes you feel less bad about people who go out and proselyte in the normal fashion, right? They're just yelling, shouting, talking, offering you books, pamphlets. These fellows, they just shoot you with an arrow. They trank you. I don't know how much warning they give you or if they're stealthy, but that sounds a fair bit more frightening to me. Let's see. And a standard medium-sized metal shield, highly reputed for its solid build and reliability. The design represents the Erd Tree foreground against a blue sky. In the broadest of terms, I suppose, but I guess a simple design means you can recreate it easily across many shields. But it's a very good early shield, very high guard boost, 100% physical protection. High guard boost as far as early game shields go that aren't great shields. There are obviously better medium shields, but for one you can get relatively early and on the cheap. For people who like, grab this as well. People who like shields, it's a good pick. I like shields for parrying personally. I have been tempted to do a playthrough of this game relying on great shields, but it's hard to find a good great shield early. Oh, another thing to point out with demi-humans, their eyes turn red at night, and they get significantly more aggressive. Why they can't see me, I'm not certain. But, we'll just carry on. We see a ghost over here. Let's see what he has to say. The demi-humans wax wroth. Now their mother's been taken. Where are you, Lord Kenneth? The night bedeviled by blood. So it was interesting verbiage there, bedeviled by blood. We know that Godric the Grafted is associated with grafting, which sounds miserable in its own right. But we've yet to meet anybody too infatuated with blood, at least one willing to speak with us. We did fight Bloody Finger near us here in this river channel, and he used weapons that would spit little blades of blood at us. That's the closest we found. So perhaps this commander bedeviled by blood and Nereus, perhaps they share the same source of power. Maybe they have faith in a similar thing. Or maybe that connection's tenuous at best. We just haven't heard too much about blood being an active force in the world. I'm curious. Yeah, we do have beast blood, which is interesting because beast blood is glimmering with little specks of gold, and it never rots or decays. So, blood seems to be a little different to how blood works in our world. I almost forgot about the cracked tier that we have. Oh, we can talk to Melina again. See what she has to say.
Me? I'm searching for my purpose, given to me by my mother inside the Erd Tree.
Inside the Erd Tree.
Long ago.
Very specific.
For the reason that I yet live. Burned and bodiless.
Burned and bodiless.
There is something for which I must apologize. I've acted the Finger Maiden, yet can offer no guidance. I am no maiden. My purpose was long ago lost.
So just every time she speaks, she drops lots of details that can be easily glazed over as generic fantasy ramblings, fantasy story ramblings. But she mentions that she seeks the purpose given to her long ago inside the Erd Tree, and that she is burned and bodiless. And to be fair, she appears and disappears and reappears in that little blue haze, kind of like Torrent does. And he's a spectral steed, so she seems to be a spirit acting on the world. And she seems to be able to influence the physical world to degrees, right? She was able to hand us the spectral whistle. For all intents and purposes, that seems like a physical item. And we are able to use it to summon Torrent with tones. Somehow she's lingering around us and appearing at places of grace for whatever reason. Not sure what brings her about, if she's always with us or if she only appears when she means to. I never know whether or not to make it a health item or stamina boosting. Stamina boosting's very nice. I hate paying attention to the stamina bar, but everyone who's competent in the game must pay attention to the stamina bar. I don't think it should go away. I'm not one of those people. You can't trust those people, but I just need to get good, so to speak. So we start coming up to the fort. We can summon, and we see a ballista up there just taking pot shots at the demi-humans. I still have my shield. Okay, good. Oh, it worked! I'm really bad at parrying spears, which is sad because spears ought to be one of the easier things to parry. Woo! Starting to look way too good for ourselves. Do we want to keep using the spear? You know what? Let's try out the dagger. I'm curious. We find a blood roast. We'll look at that in a moment. I won't forget. At least I'll try not to forget. I'm really hoping to inflict the lead status. There we go. That's what I was counting on. I flubbed that royally. It's okay. We'll just ignore him for a moment. Make him feel bad. Daggers. Many of them have an enhanced critical multiplier, making them good for backstabs, riposts, which are essentially front stabs, anytime I'm locked into an animation like that. We see another golden seed. It's been a little bit since we've seen a golden seed, so let's take a look at its description again. A golden seed found at the base of an illusory tree. When the Elden Ring was shattered, these seeds flew from the Erd Tree, scattering across the various lands as if life itself knew its end had come. So that's a process we know is bolting when a plant or a tree wants to send off its leaves. But it's interesting because we find it at a sapling. We saw one of these without a golden seed in the... just had a little frame rate skip. We saw one of these in the catacombs we started in. The Stranded Graveyard. But it didn't have a golden seed under it. We could start with a golden seed, of course. And sure enough, it's a little glowing tree. Could be quite ethereal. The other Erd Tree that we went by, the minor one here, now that we have a good look at it, now that we're not immediately below it, it looks like real wood. Maybe the leaves are illusory, or just bioluminescent. But yeah, this could be an illusory tree. And the Erd Tree, the big one in the distance, is that same sort of gold, just magnified, just huge, right? So the fact that it comes from illusory trees seems interesting. It implies a lack of tangibility. Very strange. Maybe we will learn more about that in the future. But something worth noting. Another puzzle piece to add to our endless catalog of puzzle pieces. We have a 10,000 piece puzzle here, and none of them seem to go together. So we come here to Fort Haight, and already we see a body. It looks like a massive demi-human, complete with a waistcloth. And we learned from the ghost that their queen was brought here. Not sure if this is the queen. Probably is. massive creature, but it was brought here, and something bad happened. I just stabbed your corpse because I am a horrible monster. Why does he get the Bloodborne dodges? I don't want the Bloodborne dodges. Very rude. All right, Blood Bros. I said I would look at that. So let's clear out the area, and I will definitely look at that. I need to stop getting so sidetracked. I'm waiting for this fellow to throw. Take these fellows. Knife doesn't do a whole lot of damage to their posture, but we find another cookbook. What does the 6th cookbook offer us? Beastler pot. Ooh, blood grease, drawstring blood grease, blood arrow, blood bolt. So we already get a lot of stuff for bleeds. This is kind of the little area you go to for bleed build. And you don't have a bleed weapon, so you can apply bleeds to stuff. Which is a very good, and especially when the game came out, a very strong style of play. Take a flask. I'm going to drink the physic. Ooh, I rolled way too early. It's not a move that these fellows tend to have very often. Knock that out of here. But he has very nice armor, very nice sword. I wish he would drop his sword. We'll have to get one like it at a later point in time. But he gives us the Bloody Slash Ash of War. So we found Faith, we found Physical, specifically Heavy for strength builds, Keen for dex builds, and even Blood. Bloody Slash, Blood Oath skill granted by the Lord of Blood. Okay, so now we know that there's some sort of hierarchy with the usage of blood, right? There's a Lord of Blood. From a low stance, coat the blade in your own blood to unleash a rending blood slash in a wide arc. Very fantasy-esque. You can't hope that bloodborne pathogens will slay your enemy in the throes of combat that quickly, but some people can hope. I popped the physic, and I didn't really use any heavy attacks against the guy. I feel like I wasted an opportunity, but I guess the parry worked just as nicely. Okay, up here we find a treasure chest. Surrounded by oceans. We're quite high up. It's, not the biggest fort. I shouldn't be fort shaming Kenneth, but, here we are. Still, he seemed to want it back. It doesn't seem like a whole lot. It seems like a fort mostly for function. Okay, I'm gonna really read the item descriptions now. So first, the blood rose. Blood slick roses that bloom in blood-soaked soil. Material used for crafting items. Particularly beloved by those who serve the Lord of Blood. Glory to his inevitable reign. Seems interesting. Blood slick roses that bloom in blood-soaked soil. Is that just the ideal environment? Or does Elden Ring perhaps have ideas relating to old world understanding of sciences like spontaneous generation? Like you'd leave out a piece of meat, and instead of them understanding that meat spoiling lures flies and therefore maggots, that it is the piece of meat that spawns the flies and the maggots. Gross, but this world likely does not function too much like our own, and will have strange ideas. Goodbye. I like the ballista. I wish I could take it with me. It looks like a triple knock. Kind of interesting that the back of the crossbow tiles in that direction. Yet it in the on the front where all the points are, they're not cascading the same way. In fact, the bolts are tiled a little bit differently, almost implying that the longest bolt Maybe not. Maybe it makes more sense given at where the bowstrings are. Yeah, I guess if you account for where the back of the bowstrings are, not the wood, the tiling makes sense. Ignore me, I'm just trying to stare at stuff in the environment. That's my job here. Okay. So we cleared the fort. It wasn't a whole lot, but we slayed the Lord of... Or not the... We slayed the Knight Commander, who was infatuated, bedeviled even, by blood. And now we are actually going to... Yeah, let's report to Kenneth. Let's report to Kenneth. That seems like a great idea. And he can exposit a little more to us. Okay. I'm going to switch to the... Okay. I was very confused for a moment there. It didn't look like the environment I thought I was going to be in. Switch to the short sword. I love straight swords. This straight sword in particular has the lunging attack when you're two-handing it. I don't think the other straight swords do that. I think most of them slashes. But it's so small. But I love that attack right there. Just to scare the birds off. And
I've been waiting for you with bated breath. Did you manage to recapture my fort?
a one-man army.
Excellent news. Just wonderful. And the knight's dead to boot. Well done, my friend. Well done indeed. I knew I was right to trust you.
He wasn't very trustful at first, but
Here's your reward.
he
as
had no one
promised.
else to turn to.
Go ahead. It's all yours.
An Erd Steel Dagger. Kind of interesting conjunction of words there. Erd Tree is made of wood, but Erd Steel makes you wonder if perhaps is the steel blessed by the gifts and boons of the Erd Tree? Who knows? We'll read its description. Actually, let's read it now while we have a lone conversation. As I tab ceaselessly looking for it. Alright, so it is, interestingly enough, a dagger that scales, at this point in time, seemingly equally with Strength, Dex, Faith. Now, those D scalings, those may not be equal. We can't tell. Some D scaling is better than others, just like some C scalings are better than others. It's a range, it's a bracket. An Erd Steel dagger with a grass crest engraved upon its blade, carried by the Erd Tree royalty for self-defense in times of peace. So perhaps he has a little bit, he has been truthful for us, implying that he is somebody of some noble birth. Though forged to a high standard, the weapon is difficult to wield. Attack power also scales with faith. So very good weapon, especially for faith builds. It's probably one of the earliest faith weapons you can get. And if you are to slap that Ash of War on it, that we saw earlier, the Sacred Blade, it's a fantastic faith weapon, already comes with good faith scaling. This can make it even better, and you can chunk people with the projectile that comes off of it, and then its own slashes won't do too bad either. A lot of people don't favor daggers. I think it's good as an offhand. So you can put the dagger in your left hand, wield it with both your hands, use the projectile slash, and then go back to wielding whatever's in your right hand, plus the Erd Steel dagger in your left hand. It's a great combo. Works pretty well. So, let's see if he has anything else to say.
Right then. Time for me to head to the fort. I've much to do. First, I'll have to re-establish communication with the demi-humans.
Interesting.
What's that look? You don't believe me?
No,
Well,
not at all.
under the Erd Tree, commingling with the demi-humans is made possible. Even the vulgar shall not be left behind under the rule of true order. Which is why I, Kenneth Haight, next in line as the rightful ruler of Limgrave, have sworn to uphold it. Just you watch, my friend. Just you watch.
Okay, so perhaps these demi-humans beneath this archway that attacked us earlier, we attacked them back. Both parties are equally to blame. Perhaps they're actually a part of his envoy. Maybe they believe in him. The ghost referenced how the queen of the demi-humans had been stolen. Maybe that's what aggravated them in the first place. Whether they were stolen by Kenneth Haight or that Blood Knight commander, it's hard to say. But he seems to believe that he can reestablish connections with the demi-humans and maybe he hopes to dampen their hostilities.
Ah, yes. I've been meaning to ask. Would you like to enter my service? I see bright things in your future, stout warrior. Enter into my service and learn the workings of the Erdtree's true order. And who knows? Perhaps sometime down the line, the grace of gold will return to those tarnished eyes of yours. What say you? A fine accord, is it not?
Why not? We're looking for somebody who knows their way around the lines between. If we have any hope of making the Erdtree, perhaps Kenneth can help.
Very well indeed. I knew I saw something in you. I shall await you at my fort. We shall hold a ceremony for your knighting there, I think. I see great things ahead of us.
We're not particularly
We are
a
truly
knight.
by the
In fact,
Erdtree
we're a
blessed.
wannabe sorcerer who worked in a glintstone mine, and that's the extent of our knowledge.
Right then.
Despite a
Time
few,
for me to
or
head to the
rather,
fort. I've much to do.
even though we
First,
found
I'll
a
have to
handful of
re-establish
scrolls on our
communication
adventures,
with the
we are by no
demihumans.
means a proper wizard.
Right then, I've
Okay,
much to
so that's
do.
all he has to say. So let's go back to the fort and see what is going on there. Perhaps we will become a knight. I don't think the ghost's dialogue changes, but I kind of want to see it again. So we'll take a quick look. The demi-humans wax wroth. Now their mother's been taken. Where are you, Lord Kenneth, the knight bedeviled by blood? Okay. So first things first, there's not demi-humans outside here, and there's not a guardsman up there shooting down. Kind of atypical. We're used to our enemies respawning every time we take a rest at a site of grace or travel. Here we see demi-humans. And they're pissed. Of course I had to come here at nighttime, so that they can be even more pissed. It's okay. We brought back. Straight sword is very reliable, and on enemies that are stumbled by just about anything, is a very ideal weapon. Rainbows. The barrels seem to have regenerated, though. That seems to be it. We're assaulted by a small wave of demi-humans, different from the Godric soldiers we saw earlier. And otherwise, the place seems empty. But here we find our friend, Kenneth Haight.
Ah, you, is it?
Seems
I
almost
suppose you
begrudging
must have
seeing
seen
us.
it by now, yes. The sorry state of my fort. Oh, indeed, it is a foul fate for a land to be without a ruler. One must be found, with haste, and not that awful Godric, but a true and stalwart lord of the proper lineage to take the reins of
He insinuated
Limgrave.
he was of the proper lineage, but he seems to have seen a flaw in himself, and he wishes that somebody else take the role.
I'm sorry to have lifted your hopes, but I haven't
It's okay,
the
we didn't have
authority
them
to
very
raise you to knighthood as things stand. The great Kenneth Haight issues his sincerest apology. But now, I must begin my search post-haste for a true and stalwart lord
now
of the
he's
proper
beginning his own
lineage
quest of
to take the
sorts.
reins of Limgrave. I must begin my for a true...
And I meant to look at the lift Dectus medallion. So we'll do that here and cut the episode just after. Left half of a split medallion depicting the Erdtree. Brandishing the medallion with both halves conjoined will activate the Grand Lift of Dectus, connecting the Altus Plateau to Liurnia. Places we have not heard about yet. Well, until now. The right half is said to reside in Fort Faroth in the Dragon Barrow, far to the east. Well, we know Caelid's to the east, right? those Redlands. So perhaps Dragonbarrow is beyond that, even. So, the mysteries only deepen. And we will get to explore a little more character dialogue next time. Kenneth Haight has lifted our hopes and dashed them in one fell swoop, and we are thankful for that, for we are bigger and better people because of it. And I thank you for watching today, and I hope you have a good day.
Hey!
Bye-bye.